Morning, y'all. Let's talk about something as old as civilization itself, and yet as current as today's headlines. Gold. In 2025, gold has been on the move. It touched record highs this spring, rising above $2,400 an ounce. That run was fueled by fears of inflation, nervous markets, and central banks quietly adding to their reserves. Since then, it's drifted lower, closer to 2,200, as the Federal Reserve hinted at cutting rates and the dollar regained strength. But the point is this: every rise and fall of gold tells a story about trust, fear, and human behavior. To understand gold, really understand it, you have to look beyond price charts and headlines. You have to look at history, culture, and the invisible hand of confidence. Why does gold still have value? Gold has been set apart since the beginning. Unlike iron and copper, it doesn't rust or corrode. It shines, untouched by time, and so it became a symbol of permanence. Ancient Egypt's lined tombs with it, and the Incas call it the sweet of the sun. Across continents and centuries, gold carried divine associations, yet beauty alone never made gold valuable. Its worth has always come from scarcity and control. Only tiny traces are found in the earth, and throughout history the powerful hoarded what little existed. Pharaohs and kings, temples and treasures, later banks and governments all took gold out of circulation, keeping it rare and therefore precious. The cycle is familiar during wars or conquest. Gold spreads in society. Think of it as Spanish ships bringing treasures from the New World. Then, as stability returns, elites put it back, hoarding it again. Then that rhythm of release and withdrawal gave gold a social weight beyond economics. To wear, it was status. The hoard, it was power. Gold also became money, not because it was the most useful metal, but because it was the most trusted. For centuries, gold coins carried the faces of emperors and kings. Later, under the gold standard, paper money was trusted because you could exchange it for gold. Even after the U.S. left the gold standard in 1971, gold retained its aura. Central banks still keep it, culture still prize it, people still trust it. And here's something unique: gold doesn't vanish. Almost every ounce ever mined still exists, melted, reshaped, recycled, but never destroyed. More than 200,000 tons sit above ground today in jewelry, coins, and vaults. That permanence makes gold a bridge between generations. So why does gold still have value? Because it's scarce, because it's controlled, because it's beautiful, because it's trusted, and because it has been all those things for as long as we've kept records. Why does the price move? Now, if gold's value is timeless, its price is anything but. Prices move daily, even hourly, reflecting human hopes and fears. Inflation: when the cost of living rises fast, people fear their cash will lose power. Gold, they believe, will hold steady. Interest rates: when central banks raise rates, bonds and savings account look more attractive, and gold often loses ground. The dollar: gold is priced in U.S. dollars. When the dollar is strong, gold feels expensive abroad and demand slips. When the dollar weakens, gold rallies. Crisis, wars, pandemics, financial crashes. Each sends investors running for shelter, and gold is where many land. The data bears this out. 2008, stocks fell 40%. Gold rose 6%. In the 1970s, as oil prices soared and inflation rattled the world, gold spiked from $35 to $800 an ounce. Then, for nearly 2 decades, it drifted flat. Economists call these jump and dip periods, long stretches of stability, punctuated by sharp bursts of fear-driven buying. So when you see gold surge, it's less about the metal itself and more about the psychology. Fear of inflation, fear of war, fear that tomorrow will be worse than today. How do people own this gold? Gold ownership is not one size fits all. It's a vast market with different doors, and each one tells you something about the human behavior. Jewelry: the single biggest demand, about 2,500 tons a year, much of it in India and China. In those cultures, jewelry is both adornment and savings. A necklace is beauty, but it's also a bank account you can wear. Investments: around 1,000 tons go to investors, coins, bars, and increasingly exchange-traded funds. Introduced in the early 2000s, transformed the market. Suddenly buying gold was easy as buying a stock. Industry and dental use too, smaller, about 400 tons a year, but critical in the electronics, aerospace, and specialized applications. Central banks: the hidden giants. Together they hold about 30,000 tons, led by the United States at over 8,000, then Germany, Italy, and France. In recent years, China's been quietly adding. When a central bank buys gold, it's not about jewelry or speculation. It's about strategy and sovereignty. Recycling supply: old jewelry and scrap feed nearly 1,000 tons a year back into the market. Gold doesn't vanish, simply changes hands from one to another. So when someone says, "I own gold," it could mean a ring on their finger, a bar in the vault, a share in an ETF, or a nation's reserve held deep underground. Who produces this gold? Well, every year about 3,500 tons of gold come out of the earth. but it comes from a handful of nations. China leads, producing over 250 tons a year. Australia follows, about 280 tons, and reserves stretch 21 years. Russia contributes around 160 tons with vast and untapped deposits. United States and Canada produce steadily about 240 and 100 tons. South Africa, once the undisputed king, has slipped, but still holds the largest reserves, over 36,000 tons. Altogether, more than 160,000 tons of gold have been mined in history. Of that, roughly 100,000 tons are in jewelry, 30,000 in central bank vaults, and another 30,000 in industry. Put another way, there's about 15 grams of gold per person alive today. Yet production is finite. At current rates, known reserves may last less than 40 years. New discoveries and higher prices could stretch that, but the clock's ticking. So what did we learn? Gold is a paradox. It has almost no use in daily life. You can't eat it, fuel a car with it, power a home, yet it has outlasted every empire and every currency. Why? Because it is scarce, beautiful, trusted, and above all, permanent. When the world feels steady, gold seems dull. But when the world shakes, gold shines. That's why gold still matters. What do you think?